Okay, so our project is called Tuleverage. We'll tick through it real quick. What is Tuleverage? Tuleverage enables individuals to raise money for professional endeavors or to mitigate professional risk by selling a percentage of their future earnings. So how does it work? First step, investors pre-commit ETH in exchange for tokenized rights to a share of an individual's future gross revenue. The second step, the individual who would be sharing their future revenue withdraws the ETH pool by signing a transaction that would legally bind them to distribute a predetermined percentage of their future revenue to token holders. And the final step, that individual would periodically deposit the agreed upon revenue into the DApp, which would distribute that revenue according to token ownership. So we thought through who would be a good test case for a first use case for this DApp. Well, we think that Danilo would be a good test case. So let's take a look. Why would Danilo be a good test case? If we look at Danilo's street cred, he's a god level debugger. He was a successful tech founder pre-Cartesi. He was an early Cartesi core contributor, a founder of Sunodo. He was on the Doom Arena winning team at ETH New York, and he's currently hacking Cryptopolis. So how would Danilo Tuleverage? Well, in our POC, the native cryptocurrency DTool represents a proportionate entitlement to 20% of Danilo's future gross revenue. Investors would pre-commit ETH in exchange for DTool. Danilo would withdraw the ETH by legally binding himself to share 20% of his future gross revenue. And then Danilo would periodically deposit 20% of his gross revenues moving forward into the DApp to be distributed among DTool holders. So we did a little market research here. This is on slide 8, the current addressable market for DTool. As you can see, our very scientific research suggests that people with very low IQs and also people with very high IQs would be interested in a share of Danilo's future gross revenue. So with that, I'm gonna give it to Felipe for a quick demonstration.
All right, that was beautiful, Brandon. Let me share my screen. So as you might have noticed, the name of our team is HTML Gods. That's because of Brandon and his crazy HTML work. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Yep. All right. So here we have the website. You can see Tuleverage. We explain it a little bit. If you're not Danilo, that's sad. I'm sorry for you. And then you have a few different options, right? We have options for not Danilo, and we have options for Danilo, right? So let's say you're not Danilo and you want to buy some D2. You just click the D2 button. You see such a beautiful website. You convert some ETH to D2. I'm already running the Sunodo on backend. So here you have not Danilo on MetaMask. Not Danilo is gonna buy some D2. If you go to the terminal real quick, you can see I had done a test before. So now you can see here, transferring 200 Ether to the DApp address. There's now 350 Ether in the pot. So total supply of D2 is also 350. So let's say another user is also interested in buying D2s because he's a smart man and he wants a piece of that future revenue. So say also not Danilo, goes there and buys, say, 300 Ether. I'm not sure what's the market value of 300 Ether right now, but I'm sure it's worth it. So you see the pot accumulates. So now we're gonna have, as soon as the input comes in, we're gonna have 650 D2s in the pot. So maybe let's say Danilo now is happy to sell 20% of his future revenue for that amount of Ether. He can come here and agree to the very legally binding agreement here, which is also stored on chain, of course. So in this text, it was written by a lawyer. He agrees to both share 20% of his entire revenue, and he also agrees to maintain a amicable and enduring relationship with the dumbasses who wrote this program. So there we can also have a piece of the pie. So we agree on withdraw. Notice that this is not a Nilo, so it shouldn't work. Let's see. So it doesn't work, so we just call the fraud. We say that the signer doesn't have the chat credentials, and we just say some rough words for that. So let's say you are Danilo. Let's change the MetaMask to Danilo. You agree and withdraw. Sign the transaction. Now I'm gonna print the message here. The signature is just his address. It should be his signature, but it was signed by this address. The date is a timestamp of the block. And here's the message that the man has agreed to. And he got 650 ethers for agreeing with the deal. So now Danilo, as he's legally bound to do this, every time he receives some money, he has to click here and send 500 ether back to the protocol. So every year he comes here and distribute revenue to the D2 holders. So adding the input, should come here and we should see who received some ether from their very, very smart investment. So you see here, this just distributed ether according to their D2 holdings. So that's it. We're gonna be launching an ICO anytime now. So please follow us on Twitter.